So before we start the video, everybody, I want to get some housekeeping out of the way. Please, if you can, watch the video all the way through. This helps us in the YouTube search rankings and helps us beat the algorithm so that we can be recommended to other people. Also, if you really enjoy the content, please like and possibly think about subscribing to the channel. That definitely helps our numbers greatly and helps other people see, again, the channel and beat the algorithm. So just remember this, and again, thank you everybody for clicking on the video, and thank you for watching. Let's get into it. So to give this video a little bit of context, I'm going to go into my background with anime. I love anime. I've loved anime since I was a little kid. As a kid that was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, anime was probably my escape, my favorite form of television entertainment. But anime for me was also a way to bond with people that I probably wouldn't have had a lot in common with to start with. In particular, it was a way for me to bond with my parents. But let's start from the beginning. The first series that I actually came in contact with that I was really into was Robotech, or as they know it in Japan, Macross. Now, this is important, and it is important because it really opened my eyes to let me know that animation could tell stories that were intense, stories that were mature, and that had weight to them. Now, my favorite character in Robotech was the pilot Roy Fokker, otherwise known as Skull Eater. Robotech showed me that a person could affect the outcome of something that was so much larger than him. In particular, Roy Fokker's presence is felt long after he's not in the series anymore. He was the best pilot. He was a great brother, and I was an older brother as well, so I really identified with his character. But more importantly, Roy Fokker was a good man, and he showed that in his interactions with not only his friends but his enemies. Now, one person that he had a particular relationship with was his fiance, a woman by the name of Claudia. Claudia was a character that I had never quite seen the like of in an anime up to that point. Claudia was a black woman, but not just a character model that just happened to have brown skin. She was curvy, she had brown skin, and she had natural hair. She looked very similar to a lot of women that I knew growing up, a lot of my aunts, cousins, and things like that. And so seeing her in that particular series be, with the character that I admired so much was really cool. I really thought that was cool. You know who else thought that was cool? My mom. Yes, I watched anime with my mom. I don't care what you think. You will not judge me. Now, that being said, we watched this series together, and it was really a bonding experience between my mother and myself, and I enjoyed that. As far as my father, he wasn't really into anime, but there were series that he enjoyed. In particular, Speed Racer, Gigantor, and a series that we really got to bond over, which was Gatchaman, or G-Force, or Battle of the Planets. It went by many names, but if you know, you know. And that was one of the first series where I saw a main character die and never come back. It changed my outlook on the way I viewed animation to this day. It has stuck with me. And that was just a way for my father to really help me understand what it was to lose someone and how death worked. Because at the same time, I was losing my aunt to cancer. So this was definitely interesting, and it definitely helped me cope with that particular issue. So again, anime helped me in a lot of hard times in my life, and it also was something that I took a lot of joy in just consuming. So as I went through my adolescence, I experienced a lot of the same series that a lot of you did. In particular, Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball series. Now, Dragon Ball was huge at that time. Number one, because there was no real barrier to entry aside from having cable television. And I think when I first started watching Dragon Ball, it actually didn't come on cable. You could actually watch it on broadcast television, the original Dragon Ball series, that is, depending on where you were in the United States. So where I was at, Dragon Ball came on UPN. And y'all, you know, if you were black, you knew what UPN was, because that's where all the black shows was coming on in the 90s. UPN standard for underpaid Negroes. But on Saturday mornings, UPN played anime. In particular, they played Dragon Ball, they played Samurai Pizza Cats, they played Techno Man, which actually is a mecha anime that I'll probably do a whole separate video on. It was amazing, but I digress. Anyway, so I watched the original Dragon Ball, and it was really cool. You know, I loved martial arts at the time. I still do. And what was cool about Dragon Ball were just the insane cast of characters. I mean, there was a talking cat. There was an old green man. There's a dude with 3 eyes. I mean, it was just amazing. There was some bald kid with no nose. But, you know, what made it cool for me was later on in the series, one of the villains in particular, his name was King Piccolo. And King Piccolo was an evil, evil character. He actually killed the main character, Goku's best friend, and it took a long time for them to bring Krillin back. So when Goku gets his revenge inevitably against King Piccolo and impales him through the gut, King Piccolo's last stand was to give birth to a child in the form of an egg that he spit out through his mouth, and basically copied his essence and his fighting abilities into this child so that he could continue the fight with Goku, who he viewed as a worthy opponent. And this character would later become the character that everyone knows as Piccolo. Now, Piccolo was cool. I mean, even as a villain, he just oozed cool. From his wardrobe with the turban and the shoulder pads and the cape, to the purple gi that he wore, everything about him just was cool. The way that he fought, the way that he moved, the way he spoke it was cool. Now, what was cool about this character is that if you go from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, this character's arc is a full character development arc. He starts one way, and due to his experiences, he is able to transform his character independent of other characters to really become a hero. And I thought that was really interesting. But in particular, one experience with another character really shaped his outlook on the world. Because what you have to understand about Piccolo is that his father is not necessarily an individual in the way that you would think about it. He is a part of a duality, in the idea that the guardian of the earth, Kami, in order to become the guardian of the earth, had to separate the negativity or the evil out of his persona. And so through a lot of meditation and training, he was able to do that. But the evil, the darkness inside of him was so strong that it created a separate entity known as Piccolo. And as he tried to kill this separate entity, every fight with this separate entity ended up in a draw because they were equally as strong and skilled as each other. So Piccolo went on his way to do the evil deeds that he was going to do, and Kami continued being good and being the guardian of the earth. So King Piccolo, the evil side of Kami, when he created the character known as Piccolo, he basically was able to condense all of that negativity and evil into his son. So for the character of Piccolo to overcome all of that, it was really cool. It was really interesting to see. So with that backstory out of the way, I know it was long, guys, but that leads me to the meat of this video. And that is, the character of Piccolo isn't black. Now, I know this might be upsetting to a lot of you, but he isn't. And to understand where I'm coming from with this, you have to understand that growing up, especially in predominantly black neighborhoods, this character was really important for a lot of people. And I understand that. I was there. But the idea that he is somehow coded black or is a is a black man in disguise or was meant to be black is just pure headcanon, delusion, and fiction. It isn't real, and I can go over why. So first of all, we have to understand why black anime fans projected onto this character. And there's multiple reasons. One reason is because of the way he spoke. A lot of people, because of the voice actor, Chris Sabat, who is actually the second voice actor to portray this character. But he's also the most known and had the most time with the character. His voice is in particular very distinctive. It's very deep. He voices various characters throughout anime. All Might in My Hero Academia. He voices Vegeta. And his voice is just very distinctive. He's a legend in the anime community. Now, that being said, Chris Sabat isn't black either. He's a white man. So I understand where it comes from as far as why you would think that based on the voice, but it's just not reality. Now, the other reason is because in the first season of Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo, after killing Goku and Raditz, takes Goku's son, Gohan, under his wing to prepare for the eventual fight with the Saiyan warriors, Nappa and Vegeta. Now, when he does this, he becomes the child's surrogate father. And a lot of black kids, especially black boys, really identified with this. Because, you know, there's a lot of blended families in the black community, a lot of stepdads. So it made sense. However, this experience isn't unique to the black community, not in any way, shape, fashion, or form. And what you also have to understand is Piccolo's motivation for doing this wasn't to better the child. He was doing it from a self-serving point of view because he didn't want his planet, the planet that he felt was his birthright to rule over, destroyed by an alien threat. And so he was going to use any means necessary, including implementing a child soldier. Let's not mince words. That's what Gohan was. That was what his goal was for Gohan, was for him to be a child soldier. That's why he was going to train him. Now, later on, of course, as he gets to know the boy and their bond forms, that father-son relationship is cemented, but that doesn't happen until a lot later, ultimately culminating in him sacrificing his very life to save the boy in a fight that he was not prepared for. So, with that being said, that's not really a reason to identify him as black-coded, which isn't really a thing, or black or of the diaspora or anything else. None of his actions or the way that he is really preclude him to having an affinity towards blackness. Now, another reason people seem to think that the character of Piccolo is black-coded is because of his dress, in particular the turban that he wears and the style of dress, but that also comes from his upbringing. Piccolo was not raised by parents, but rather because he was powerful from the beginning, he actually fell in with pirates and degenerates, in particular, it looks like from places that would be reminiscent to North Africa, and thus he took on their style of dress. But he, as a character, didn't really, aside from their dress, didn't take anything else from them. He already had his own fighting style cemented from his father that was, projected upon him when he was conceived. So that's not really an issue, nor is it a thing. Other than that, I mean, the Namekians, which is the race of people that Piccolo hails from, are from a distant planet. They have no females in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They reproduce asexually. They're more akin to lizards than humans in any real way. They can grow their limbs back at will, and they reproduce through eggs. So there's nothing really that identifies the character or really can be shown that the character has anything resembling blackness to him. But I understand, because he is a cool character. However, what really is sad is because there are many black characters in anime. They're always around. They've been around for years and years. Like I said in the beginning, Claudia from Robotech is black, and she was banging, boy. But that's beside the point. But she was a black character. There are many others. I can cite various examples, but they exist. And more importantly, if the mangaka, by the way, for the uninitiated, a mangaka is a person who writes manga, which are Japanese comic books, basically, and that's where you get anime from. The manga is adapted into animation, and then, subsequently you get to see it on your television. So, that being said, yeah, if they want to put black characters in their series, they will, and they have, and they do. In particular, if you look at the series Naruto, they have a rapping ninja who has 8 swords and raps while he whoops your ass. So that, I mean, they don't have any restrictions on creativity as far as what they're allowed to put in their series. So the idea that a mangaka would need to code a character as black in order to get that character through some sort of censorship is just not reality. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Now, there are black characters in Dragon Ball. It's just that you don't want to identify with them. And there's a reason for that. Here's some example of what Akira Toriyama's representation of black people looks like. So as you can see, these characters have very common attributes about them. In particular, the overly exaggerated pink lips, very dark skin. And if you were to watch the series, these characters also talk in a very stereotypical fashion. This is what this particular mangaka thinks how black people should be portrayed. He does not portray them as he portrays Piccolo. He portrays them as he sees them. And I think this is a big problem. Now, as black people, we do this on a regular basis. We try to put attributes on the characters, I guess for representation's sake. But in the case of anime, if you look, there are actually many examples of black characters. Characters range from supporting characters to main characters, to side characters, to villains, and everything in between. There are even mangaka who, surprise, surprise, are black in Japan and have had their own series created and have series in production. In particular, one such series, Cannon Busters. Cannon Busters is made by a black mangaka. It is a series on Netflix. It has mostly an all-black cast, and most black fans have no idea about it. You know why I know that? Because the Netflix series Luke Cage nearly broke the internet when it came out. Cannon Busters, barely a blip. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells us that either we're not aware or we're not supporting the thing that we actually say that we want. Because if you were supporting these characters and these series, then there would be no need to make these huge leaps in logic to make other characters fit your headcanon, because these characters already exist. So, I mean, that being said, guys, I just needed to get this video out because it just seems so strange to me that this decades after the original Dragon Ball Z aired on television, that we're still having this conversation. I know that I might get a lot of negative comments for this, and that's all right. I'm cool with it, guys. I just wanted to open up the discussion. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on the next one. 8-Bit Heroes out. Peace.